So okay. So now let us understand the technique of winning with the two bishops. Okay. Look at this position here. Okay. And white to play. How does white start? Because white's bishops are at one corner and black king is in the middle. Okay. So
Then
let's
move the king.
move the king. Okay. Oops, not this. Sorry. Okay. Analysis. Okay. So what will we start? What move we will make first?
So king to C2, sir.
King to c2. Actually, maybe king to b3 is better, because then what you get is you get this kind of a thing, right? Now black king has to decide where to go. Okay. Whichever side he goes, now you can prevent him from coming on the other side because of this diagonal like this, because the bishops are. So if black king goes this side, okay, now you know that he cannot cross these boundaries. See how the bishops are controlling this, right? So now the king will not be. So now your intention now is to get the king to h1 square. Okay, where you will try to checkmate. Okay, so now remember, now you should not allow him to go on the other side. Okay, otherwise he will get some extra moves. So you want to now get him on this side of the board, right? So what do you do? So now you start squeezing. So you get the bishop in here. Okay, so what happens? This, and obviously this. So what does black will try to play as much in the center as possible. Okay, because black does not want to go.
And now king to C2, sir.
No, king to c2 is also okay.
C4.
King to
C4,
c3.
sir.
No, yeah, c4, c3, c2. I think actually c4 is not good. C2 I like it. Okay, c3 is also okay. C2 is also okay, because you are still blocking this. This also is blocked, and this is also blocked. So now king has to start moving. See, c4, because we were on the other side of the diagonal, right? We had put this diagonals. Better to come on this side where the king, you are going to squeeze it. So now where the king will go? Sorry. Where can the king go now? Let us say he goes back here. Okay, he wants to remain in the center. Then
Sir, bishop to f6, maybe.
bishop to f6 is also a good move, but then he will king will again come here and then try to maybe he might try to go here. So let us bring our own king first. Okay, let us bring our own king closer. So now all this is gone, and this what do you call, this is also not there, and this is also not there. So now we are squeezing the king further. Now where will black's king try to go? He will try to go here. He will not try to go to the edge himself, right? But now we can squeeze a little bit further. How we can squeeze a little bit further? Now let us take bishop to e5. Okay, so the king cannot approach this bishop also, right? These squares, all of these are not there. So he cannot even attack. He cannot come here. He cannot come here. He cannot come here. So where he will try to go now? Either he will try to go to f2, okay, or he will try to go to g4. Correct? F2 or g4. He can go to g2 also. But where do you want to take him? See how we are maintaining this bishop cutoff. We are not allowing. F2 you want to go?
Sir, G4.
Okay, I think first he said F2, so let us take him to F2. Okay, let us take him to F2. So if he has gone to F2, okay, now let us, what shall we do? I think we should play now bishop to E4, because now this is also cut off and this is also cut off. And now
king only has 2 places to go.
That is very important. Now we are already driving him to the edge of the board.
But sir, best place for king is
F1. Right? F1 you are saying?
Yes, sir.
If he goes to F1, right? which is all right. Now, what you should do is you should try to keep this king on the edge of the board only. Okay, you should not
Sir,
allow
what?
him to come up.
Sir, now black bishop to d4.
Black bishop to d4, it might become a stalemate.
Sir, black bishop to g3 maybe.
But remember, don't give a stalemate. If you do this, then what is it? What is it?
Stalemate, sir.
The
Sir,
stalemate.
what about the white bishop to d3?
So
White
what
bishop
about
to d3 again you will do. Instead, see what you
sir,
do.
black bishop to g3 maybe?
No, king to, yeah, black bishop to g3 was also okay. Okay, this was also okay. But better is king. You decide, you come up and you are now forcing the king that you will never allow the king to come up the board now, only on the edge of the board. Okay. All right. So now it is actually, now it is easy. Now where will the black king go? He will try to remain in the center, right? He will try to remain in the center. Okay. So now your thing is to drive him to the edge of the board. So
Sir, white bishop to d3.
maybe f3 is better. Huh? F3 is better.
Sir, f1.
King to f1, right? Only option. Now I will get this bishop here so that king cannot come here. So now all of this is gone. So where will he go?
g1. Sir, g1.
G1, right? When he will go to G1, that
Sir,
time
black. No, the white bishop to e1.
white bishop to E1. Yeah, let us get white bishop to E1 because now this is also gone. This is also gone. But then he might come again. King might come again.
Oh, yeah.
King might come again, right? So it's okay. It's okay. If king might come to F1 again, in which case you go to bishop to G3. Okay. So now if he goes here, okay, what you do is now you have to just make one move back with the bishop. Just get.
Sir, it doesn't become a stalemate.
Yeah, it does not become a stalemate. Correct. So he will come to F1. Okay. Now what you do, very, very crucial. Very, very crucial. Now you get your king in here. Okay. What can black do? Black has to go to G1 only. Correct? Right? Now to get your bishop here. Now he cannot come to F1. Now he is really.
Sir, now he has to go in the corner h1.
Now he is going to go in the corner. Now you have to be careful. You have to allow him to play. You have to allow him to what do you call? You should not give him stalemate, but you should just keep him in the corner and you should deliver him checkmate. Okay, so you have to play a little bit carefully. If you do that, then I think you can very easily win this. Okay, very easily. So what you do right now, the king can come only in the thing. So you just play it here. Okay, play one move back. Okay, whenever, don't give him. Okay, so if he comes in here, okay, now
Sir, king to g3.
king to G3, correct? King to G3. Now,
Sir, h1 and then.
now you have to play one more.
Fine.
Sometimes you have to make these moves. You should not just think. So you have to deliver the checkmate now. So, but sometimes you have to lose a tempo. Lose a tempo means you have to just make a move. Okay, without getting anything. So you make a move here. Why? I'll tell you. Because, so now when he comes here, that time you want to
Sir, give a check with the black
D4.
bishop and then checkmate. And then
when it
d5.
comes here,
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Hey,
sir.
Rihan, I think you have joined the wrong this one. I think you are in L3, right?
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to ask you. I joined a minute ago. I just wanted to ask you. You wrote Zoom meeting starts now. You wrote
Oh, did I
something.
put it on L3? I
Yes,
thought
sir.
it was on L2, I think. Okay, by mistake I put it, I think, on L3. So no problem. I think you can exit. I think it is L2 class. Right?
Okay, sir. Bye, sir.
I will put. I think by mistake I put it in. Okay, all right. So coming back here, so you saw now how we checkmate. Sometimes you have to lose a move, and in bishops it is very easy. You can just move the bishop along the diagonal and you can lose a move. But how we brought him, right? Just go back and let us see. So this is the technique basically. Let's go back. How we started. See, the black king was in the center and white king bishops were here. So what we started with is we started ask the bishop, so black king, to go to one side of the board, and then we kept him on that side of the board and kept squeezing him, right, with the help of two bishops and the king, right. We remembered that we should never allow him to go beyond this part again. Once we decide out he's on the right side of this, we will never allow him to go on the left side. If you allow it, then it will take more time to check, right. So you have to play carefully. We never allowed him. See, he never crossed this diagonal after this. So we kept on bringing our king closer and the bishops and kept on reducing his scope, right. Now at this point he went to f2. There was a question about what if he had gone to g4, right. Then also our king approaches, so we again reduce his scope, right. We reduce his scope. So what can he do? He cannot come here, he cannot come here. So now at the most he will go here, right. Even if he goes here, what do we do? Bring our king in. So now he cannot come here, he cannot come here, cannot come here, cannot come here, cannot come. Now, so what, which means what? He has to go to the edge of the board. See, edge of the board he goes, that means half the battle is won, right. Half the battle is won.
What about now black bishop to f4?
Yeah, black bishop to f4 maybe is a good move now, because now you are allowing, now you are forcing him to come here, right. You are forcing him to come here, right. So maybe
Sir, white bishop to e2.
yeah, no, I think maybe g5 is better, because now this is controlled. So you are pushing him further, right. So when you are pushing it further, then do this. So he will go here, right. He will go here. Now you do this. So
Come to g1. Sir, now
he will come to g1. He will come to g1, right.
Sir, now what about white bishop to h3?
White bishop to where? f3.
h3, sir,
h3 it is okay, but the king will attack it immediately. King will go to h2. So not so much this one. You can
d3.
d3 is also okay. So if goes here, right? In fact,
Black. So
So-
the bishop on the black square to f2.
yeah, f2.
No, sir, you kept it in the position. Yeah, or here f2.
In this case, here it is best is to actually get your king here, okay? Because now you are in the opposition. Now it is an easy thing, because
And
now
now bishop to g6. No, okay.
no, bishop to f5, and now
now-
comes
And now bishop again to f.
right. And now
Checkmate. e4.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the technique.
but
Okay.
it's tough.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. So, but now you are in level 2, right? So you have to learn some more tougher things, right? It is not just easy things. So you will have to keep learning. But it is, once you do it 3 times, then I think you will get it, right? But you have to practice it
3 times max.
3 times, 5 times, whatever it is. But you know how to best to practice? Go to tools. What we did, this only, right? Go to tools, same thing, board editor, you keep it, right? Like what we did right here, okay. And you can even play this against the computer. I think I had shown it to you. You can always play this against the computer. Yeah, let us go to board editor here. Now you get this and say continue from here and play with computer, right? Play with computer, and you can choose the level. See, from this position only, and if you want, you can start from when maybe level 4 computer strength, okay. But finally, you should be winning this against the computer at level 8 also,
Yes.
okay, because it is easy. It not, I mean, it is little bit difficult, but 8 computer level 8 means you will try to. So first you play with number 4, level 4. Okay.
Sir, I always win against 4, so I play against 5.
Then you go to level 6. Okay. Then same position you play against the computer at level 8. So if you can win against the computer at level 8 consistently, that means you are very good with this end game. Okay, you know this perfectly well. Okay, if you cannot win it against the computer at level 8, that means there is still some way to go. Okay, but with this,
So you keep on trying.
Yeah, you keep on trying, and after some practice, you should be getting it, right? So this is the way to play against the engine to get your strength proper. Okay, get your practice. Everyone has to do this. Okay, then only you will understand. Okay, so what is the time? We have time, right? We have time.
Sir.
So I have told you about this handout. I will send it to you. Okay. So this handout. Now we are also going to look at how many of you know the rule of the square? I think you had told. Did I tell about the rule of the square in the king versus pawn endings?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Okay, I will tell this. Okay. So there are some fundamental endings that you have to know, which is in the king. You have one pawn and king, and the other side has just got the king. Okay, it might be the other way now. It might be your opponent has got a king and a pawn, and you are having only a king, in which case you are trying to defend. Okay, so you should know both when you can get a draw and when it is a win. Okay, so first thing that you have to see is that whether the pawn, finally the pawn is going to become a queen, right? In endgame, that is what is the objective, right? For the pawn to become a queen. Now, can you stop the pawn from queening? This is what first you need to know, depending on where your king is, right? There are most of the positions you will be able to interfere with the pawn's advance and you will be able to stop it. But
What's this chess sound of joining the game?
I don't know. I think maybe I have created some arena somewhere and this one. So I don't know. Maybe here. I think you guys are joining here. I want to get out. The same, your team arena I had given. Okay, coming back. So whether even the pawn can run by itself, whether it needs support of your king, or pawn can go and run itself and become a queen. For that, the rule of the square is important. Okay, what is the rule of the square? Is this. Let us take a board editor. Clear it. Let me put a white pawn here, and a white king maybe here, and a black king here. So black king is on h8, white king is on h1, and pawn is on b3. Okay, and it is white to play. Okay, now can you tell whether the pawn will queen by itself or it needs support, or black king will be able to interfere with the queening?
Sir, black king will be able to interfere.
Really? Okay. Somebody. What else? Who else? Pradyun, Shreya, Vihan, Siddhi, Suzanne, Atharva, what do you think? Will the black king be able to interfere, or he will not be able to?
I think it will.
It will
be
interfere.
able to.
See, if it will interfere, then you will have to require the support of your white king also, right? Because otherwise the pawn will be lost. But let us see, if it is white to play, right? It turns out that white to play, black king cannot do anything. It's just one move short. See, one move short. If he had reached c7, he would have been able to stop the pawn from queening. But he only reached d7, and then what happens? Win, and this is an easy win, so we will not, right? How do you find that out? How do you find that out? So finding that out is this. So if the pawn the side which has the pawn is to move, then you draw one square from it all the way to the queening square. Okay, this is the queening square of the pawn, b8, right? So you draw and imagine this square in your mind. You can imagine this. Okay, you are to play the pawn, the side which has the pawn to play. If the opponent king is anywhere within this square, then he will be able to interfere. If he is outside, then he will not be able to. Why? Because the pawn also moves one square at a time. King also moves one square at a time, diagonally, or king can move diagonally also. So that's why anywhere in this highlighted square with the green boundaries, if the black king is there, he will be able to reach the c7 square in time to prevent the queening. Okay. Everyone got it? Why it is?
Yes.
So right now the black king is outside of the square and it is white to move. If it was black to move, then what happens? Same
The
position.
black would have gotten way faster than white.
Yeah. If the same position, if it is black to play, right? Black to play. Oops. So then see here, if it was black to play, then what happens is black to play, immediately black king comes into the square. Now now it is white's turn to move, but white, you draw the square, but now what happens is black is already in the square. So now if you push, then what will happen? Black king will reach in time.
So sir, if it's black to play, the pawn will need support.
Yeah, it will need support. Obviously, you will not push the pawn. Then what will happen is you will also have to bring in your king, right? So you should know this. Okay, when do you need the king support or not, and when. So there is an easy way to remember. Okay, to not remember, to figure out very quickly without having to calculate. Okay, whether I need to support my pawn or I can just let the pawn queen. Okay, it is very good, right? Rule. Now remember, the pawn moves two squares when it is starting from the base square, it moves two squares at a time. Later on, it moves only one square, right? So if you sometimes what you have to remember is if it is white's turn to move and the beginning and the position is whatever, this is the position, right? So let me go here and instead let me say code editor. If the pawn is even not here, if the pawn is here, then also
You would need support.
no, you will not need support, because now see the pawn. See, normally you would have said that, oh, my square is this. This is my square, right? This is the square of the pawn and black king is already there. But this is a special case because the pawn is there. It can move two squares at a time.
Okay, sir.
Right?
So if it's at the starting position itself, it can move to.
So if the pawn is on the starting position, then you have to draw the square starting from already one square ahead of the pawn, starting with b3 itself in case of here instead of b2. Why? Because this pawn can move two squares at a time. That is the reason. Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, it is always from the wherever the pawn is there, and this applies only when there is nothing else, so that the pawn has got a very clear path ahead. Okay, there is no bishop, there is no knight, there is no opponent pawn to stop it, etc. Remember, this is the case only in case of a king and a pawn versus king. Okay. All right. So this is one concept that I wanted you to understand and remember. And then the other concept is, what is the other concept? The other concept is when you are trying to move the pawn, right? You have to remember which positions are winning. So let me again put it. Clear board. If your pawn is here and white king is here, if black king is in front of your white king when the pawn is on the 6th rank, okay, then this is actually a draw. Why? See, you have to remember one thing.
Keep it at e7.
You will push the pawn to e7, and if you move to the 7th rank with a check, then it becomes a draw. Because what happens? Black king goes in front of the pawn, blocks the queening square. Now, you cannot queen, but your pawn is attacked, so you have to support it. From where you can support it? Either from here, here, or here. But here you are already there, so you cannot be there. You cannot go here because the king is controlling that square. So where you will have to go? To e6. If you go to e6, now what happens?
Sir, draw.
It's a stalemate.
So this is a stalemate.
Yeah. So remember, if this position happens, if it is white to move, it's a draw. Because you will have to push the pawn, and you cannot do anything about not pushing the pawn. Because if you simply move this, then the black king will come here. Again, you will have to come here. Black king will go here. Okay. But remember, black king, if now he goes here, then it's a loss for black. Why? Because white king comes in here, and in this position, he does not move the pawn with a check. Now, if black king goes here, then you move the pawn, and now king and come here, and it's a win. And if the black king goes here, then also it's a zugzwang for him. Now you move the pawn, and you are not giving him a check. Now the king cannot go here. He cannot come here. So the king is forced to come where?
F7.
F7. And then what do you do?
Sir, and then king to D7.
King to D7. And now your square, this is squared. Now all of these squares are things. So now black king will have to move back. And now you queen. Right? So you should know there is a very small difference between these positions. See, that is why here in this position, black should move his king in front of the pawn. When white king comes here, then he should come in front of the king. Because now, if you push, then it's a draw. And if you do not push, then you are getting back to the same this.
Sir, again E5.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So remember, see, the simple rule is this. When you are trying to promote the pawn and the kings are opposing each other, if you move the pawn to the 7th rank with a check, then it's a draw. You should not have to move the pawn to the thing. So you should be forcing the black king to move, and then, what do you call it? If he moves here and you move it without a check, then you have a chance, then you can win. Okay, that's what I wanted to you to remember, and that only you that is enough at this. Then there are a lot more intricacies to king and pawn endings, which we'll keep learning. Okay, but today what all we learned? We learned to end checkmate with 2 bishops. All of you should practice it against the Leech's computer at level 8. Okay, level 8. Till you defeat level 8, I will not consider that you have understood it. Okay, level 4 it is okay. I think you should be able to easily defeat him at level 4. But level 6 it will become tougher, and level 8 he will try and play all kinds of tricks, but you have to think properly. You should not give him stalemate, and you should defeat him. Then we learned about the rule of the square, which is very important. When the pawn needs support and when the pawn does not need support, right? Depending on where the pawn is and when the opponent king is. So
Sir, can you ask Lichess to remove the undo buttons?
I cannot ask.
Okay.
Yes, is not. Okay, and then we learned about this basic end game where the pawn, how it is queening, and when it is a stalemate and when it is not a stalemate, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to send you this handout. Next week, we are going to continue the study of this, and we are going to study the remaining concepts of the end game. Okay. So I will let you go back. Now we are ending the class now, and you can